The following is a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.
Good morning. It's a Thursday. Man, what a beautiful morning this morning. Sitting on the back deck, Dr. Josh Klapow, my good friend, the Kurre and Klapow show, going to be starting here a little after 8 o'clock right here on Facebook Live. We're going to be talking about Brittney Griner. She was just released in a prisoner swap. We have the Meghan Markle thing going on with the docuseries. I really don't care, but I guess we have to talk about it. Plus, anniversaries, a ton of really interesting anniversaries going on today. And I saw Shawshank Redemption for the first time last night. I'll give you my review of the movie coming up on Kurre and Klapow this morning. Starts at 8 o'clock this morning here in just a few minutes from the brand new studios in Hoover, Alabama, and broadcasting all over the Birmingham area and, of course, all around the world. Check us out, Kurre and Klapow, right here on the Tony Curry Facebook page. In just a few minutes, I'd love to see you. We got breaking news. Free Brittney. Not that one. Yeah. By the way, we should talk about it. We should talk about that Brittney, too. Because, you know, a lot of people that were wanting to free Brittney Spears are now rethinking. She keeps posting all these Instagram things naked. People are like, you know what? Maybe she should have had somebody looking over her finances. We're in the brand new studio. We got some shadows going on. It's all good. Our content's always killed. We really don't care what we look like. But Brittney Griner was freed. The news at least broke just a few minutes ago that she's getting out. We'll talk about that coming up in just a few minutes. Celine Dion has been diagnosed with stiff person syndrome. Oh, what? Seriously? Yeah. What is it? It's an incurable disease that hits 1 in a million people. Seriously? She's going to become a statue over the next week. What is it really? Yeah. What is it? I've got it on my laptop. The Harry and Meghan Netflix thing came out last night. I don't give a damn. And also, how can someone with 3.6 million followers have imposter syndrome? I have to throw my good psychologist friend out. That's a beautiful. That's like a softball for a guy like me. Exactly. Plus, we have a lot of anniversaries and birthdays today. It's an amazing day, December 8th. It's incredible how many huge things happen on this day. Stiff person thing is a real thing. Stiff person syndrome. She's going to turn into a statue. There's things you can do. It's kind of like it's a neurological autoimmune. It's an autoimmune. It's like a dementia thing where you can slow it down a little bit, but it's eventually she is going to stop moving. She's going to be sitting and she'll have pigeons sitting on her. That's terrible. I know. We'll get into that. And last night I saw Shawshank Redemption. You've never seen it? I've never seen it. Did you cry? Or did you not cry like a baby cried? No, I didn't cry. I've never seen it. You know why? That movie was made in the early 90s. Yeah. It's a Stephen King adaptation from one of his books. Yes. It was made for $25 million. Tom Cruise was actually the first guy that was picked to play the part that Tim Robbins played, but he didn't want to do it. That's good, actually. And the movie came out about the same time as Forrest Gump and Pulp Fiction, and so no one went to see it. It made $16 million in the theater. That's like you can make that in an hour with a Disney flick. So it was considered a major flop. And then when Castle Rock bought the rights to it, and then Ted Turner bought Castle Rock, he was the one that pushed it out, sent out 361,000 videos to homes, and put it on TNT, which is where I saw it last night for the first time. I've never seen it because it's a prison movie, and I got to be in the right mood. It's not. But I'm a redemptive guy, so you'd think with. And I've seen Mysteries of the Abandoned where they actually went to Shawshank and so I kind of knew the story behind it, but I was like, do I really want to sit through? Because I knew there was going to be rape scenes, there's going to be cussing, and I was like, so I have to be in the right mood. I started watching. You can't stop. I could not stop. It was 3.5 hours long because it was on TNT. Deep. That's why I was asking you to cry. It's not cry like a baby, but it just does it pull at your I'm gonna give you one. It pulls at your existential soul. No, it's don't you think? No, it's killer. No, and you know, a lot of people no, it's killer. No, you're right. That's what I'm saying. It's a religious experience. A lot of people say it's a Christian movie. The beach in Mexico is considered heaven. Okay. What about going back? The fact that he wants to go back. There's hope. That a lot of people look at it from a Christian standpoint, like it's a religious movement kind of movie. It's killer. I'm Jewish. I guess I missed that part. Well, when he goes to me, the redemption, doing the right thing, all those things play into that movie. Okay. And how mine was he was out.
and he knows nothing else. And so he comes, the idea that he gets out, and like a lot of prisoners, a lot of individuals who are incarcerated, they make it out and they know nothing else, and they come and they either get
like Brooks.
Yeah.
And that's true. When there's a point, and your son is working through this.
Yes.
Max is.
No, he's not in prison.
Well, no. No, I know that. But he's been working on prison reform.
Yes.
Which I think would be great. Even if he doesn't make a dime doing it, your son is smart. He can change the world. Your son's
because of exactly what you said.
But there comes a point where there's no therapy involved at all in being in prison after a certain period of time. I really believe that. You become institutionalized, as Morgan Freeman says. Mm-hmm. And you stay in there for the rest of your life, and that's the place where you need to be. You don't ever want to get out.
Right.
Morgan Freeman even talked about in the movie, I want to get back in. That's why so many people, over a period of time, when they get back out, they don't know what they're going on. They have no money. They have no job. They take a job, so they're working in a grocery store, whatever. And they're just not used to that life, particularly if you're in for 50 years.
Well, that's exactly.
It's like, what the hell am I doing?
Yes.
You have no family left.
Right.
And
and that's why we talk about.
That's the life they know.
Right, but if the whole idea is to reform people in order, if the mindset is, we've talked about this on the show, if the mindset is, you're going to get out someday.
Yeah.
Maybe soon, maybe in 2 years, maybe in 10 years. If that is our mindset, then we have to prepare you so that you can be back in society for your sake and for society's sake.
That's the whole idea of prison.
But we've kind of lost. We've lost that so much, and it's such a emotionally hot topic when we talk about, why are we giving them education? Why are we giving them therapy? Why are we giving them recreation? Why are we teaching them all that? Because for many of them who are not going to be in there for life, they are going to go back out. And then there's the other concern is when they get out, well, why are we giving them all this money and places to live and jobs and training? Because for the love of God, we don't want somebody who is out there with nowhere to go, nothing to do, and no resources psychologically or socially to do it. I don't understand why people have a problem with that.
I feel you.
I really don't. I don't understand why you would be angry that we're putting resources into a prisoner, because the whole idea is, unless we're locking you away and saying you're going to be here for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
If that's it, well then fine. Treat you humanely, do what you need to do so that the prison system is safe, etc. But if we're going to send you out, we should be doing everything we can for the sake of society. If you don't even want to be benevolent about the person.
It's like you always should, like when Morgan Freeman was up for parole over and over and over again. Of course, I loved his speech at the end. It finally got him out.
Right.
You should almost ask, do you want to get out or no? Because everyone thinks they want to find their freedom.
It's a loaded question.
I know, because they don't know that world, particularly when you've been in for 30, 40, 50 years. I think there is a time, I always say that I think every 16-year-old kid should be put in a holding cell for 8 to 9 hours before they get their driver's license.
Scared straight.
Scares the shit out of you. If you've ever been in a holding cell, it sucks. And you do feel, moralistically, your freedoms are taken away. You can't pee. You can't do anything. That's horrible. Even if you're just locked up for 6 or 7 hours, been there years ago. I mean, it changes your life. And it will scare you straight. But I mean, I don't know if there's a particular time length of saying, okay, because every prison system is different.
Yep.
There are prison systems that actually try to reform, and much like the movie, they had a library and everything, and people are getting their GED, and that's wonderful. It's a great story. But at some point, it starts going the other way.
Yeah,
to the point where you're like, you know what I mean? Is that 16 years? Is that 20 years? Is that 3 years? I don't know. It's different from each individual. There's some people that get out and they never want to go back in, and they figure it out. Yeah. But there's a lot of people after some point where it just seems like...
Well, plus too, if you think about it, man, I'm going to say this, it's not going to land well. You think about prisoner of war, right? Mm-hmm. I think we talked Paul Whelan or not Paul Whelan? Paul Whelan.
The guy you're just talking about?
Yeah, Paul Whelan.
I know his name.
And Brittney Griner. What you and I were talking about, okay, they've been in there, he's still there. Having them come out, even Brittney Griner, who was she's been there since February, the transition period psychologically is huge. And when you talk about somebody who's been in a situation like that, and then you put them, when you let them back out, even if you put, I mean, you here's $1,000.
Yeah.
That doesn't help. I mean, if you've been in a situation where your freedoms have been restricted, the environment is nothing like the real world.
Yeah.
And we put you back out there. This is why you said it. At a lot of the prisons, there's job opportunities before you go out. We have to prepare you to go out. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I think we do a lot of times, we stick our head in the sand on this. We're like, look at that recidivism. Like, oh my God, of course they're, look at them. Well, of course they're back because you threw their ass out there.
Yeah.
And particularly people who've been gone 5, 10 years, a lot changes.
Now, hear me out on this.
Yeah.
And I'm super happy for Brittney Griner. I'm happy for her wife. I'm happy for the WNBA, and I'm glad she's coming home. That's not her situation.
No, when she hasn't been there that long.
She wasn't in that long.
No.
I think it was just long enough to scare the hell out of her, so I'm assuming she's going to be, not to say that she had any issues before. I don't think she was ever incarcerated for anything else. She ain't going to make that mistake twice. At least I don't think so. What bothers me a little bit are two things. First of all, she's going to be a hero, and I don't think she should be a hero. She should be a hero for what she does for women's sports and what she does as a woman, and maybe even the LGBTQ plus community.
I don't think she'll be a hero.
Oh my gosh,
no, I don't
dude.
think so.
She's going to get back, and she's going to have a parade. There's going to be a parade.
Well, sure, that doesn't make her a hero, though.
She's going to get more endorsements. She's going to get more things.
But that doesn't make her.
But she's getting that because she did something wrong, and that bothers me a little bit. I'm all about redemption. It's fine. Work your way back. And I'm not saying being in a Russian prison for 8 or 9 months isn't enough. Don't get me wrong. The other thing that bothers me is what we had to trade to get her back. Mm-hmm. We'd like to think that we're retaining Russian prisoners for the right reason, and I hate when people use people as pawns. I hate that. Whether you're using children in a divorce, whether you're using prisoners for trades, when you're using a human soul as a pawn, and I get it, it just really bothers me. But I know there's going to be a lot of people that are super happy about this. This is great. You mentioned Paul Whelan. Paul Whelan has been in prison now for over 4 years over there. He didn't get out.
No.
I thought what his brother said was really interesting, saying, when you can make a trade, you did the right thing to get her. The other thing is Brittney Griner, obviously, I didn't know who Paul was until you told me 15 minutes ago.
Right.
He's still in prison for 4 years.
Yep.
Now, I don't know what he did. But I do know that Brittney went through an airport with a contraband substance, which is illegal. And they got her on it. Did they have to give her 9? No. Did they have to go push it? But they knew exactly what they had. And so they were going to use her to get this arms dealer back. And now all of a sudden we got an arms dealer who's back out, who obviously is wanting to kill everyone in this country. And now all of a sudden this guy's back out in the street. I don't know. I'm happy for her. That's great. And I know it was a big sports story. But it's not an even trade, man. I just gave you a Pete Rose, and I got a Barry Larkin and a Mike Malone.
But is it fair to say, and we're speaking from a place of relatively not a lot of knowledge, you and I.
True.
And I think a lot of people. I mean, not everybody. There are people.
Well, and that's why I think we speak for a lot of people out there, because I don't think a lot of people know.
No, that's what I'm saying, and I think it's critical that we all acknowledge, those of us who are not in the know.
Yep.
That we don't know, and you've seen some of the press conferences. We made this deal or we made this offer and it wasn't accepted, and people are like, well, is this the end of it? And the White House said, well, we're still talking. I mean, this is one of those things where there is so much going on behind closed doors that I know I don't know, and so I'm withholding a whole lot of judgment because I feel like they're like on the surface, I get you. It doesn't look right. It doesn't look, basketball star for an arms dealer. But I hope and I gotta believe that what happened behind is not ultimately good, but there was rhyme and reason to it. Mm-hmm. And it points out that we live in a nasty, realistic world.
The fact that it was, and it's going to be so politicized, I'm betting that Joe Biden this goes for any president. I'm not going left or right. Donald Trump was in the office. He would have done the same thing. The fact that there's probably going to be a press conference this afternoon bringing her home or congratulating her, they're going to invite her to the White House and there's going to be cameras on everything else. This is going to be a big Joe Biden thing, and I'm sure he's going to bring it up. And again, it would have happened with any president. They're going to bring it up. And I'm like...
Well, any prisoner. Yeah. Any politicized prisoner. I mean, Paul Whelan was... Neither you nor I knew about it. I had heard about it. Yeah. But when we get... Even when there's a swap, when we bring a prisoner home, we are going to make a big deal about it. And to your point, the tough questions that are going to be is, well, what about the arms dealer? What happens now? What kind of danger are we in? And people will slam on him, and again, I think about this in business all the time. There's no ultimate, there's no ultimate right and wrong in these situations. There's not. No. There's not. You can have where your position on it, where you fall on it, where you believe was right. You can say, I don't think we should have done that. That's fine with me. But I don't like when people are like, well, this is a truth. It's not. It's messy. Yep. It's totally messy.
No, it's always messy. There's always a lot behind the curtain. The other thing is there's going to be a lot of people saying, how much time do we actually spend on bringing Brittney Griner home when we have a lot of other problems that could be considered much bigger in this country right now? We're saving one life. She's a WNBA star. Everyone knows who she is. She was a pawn. She did something wrong, whatever that is. I don't know if she was using medicinal.
Somebody has a question, a breaking question.
What's that?
I don't know.
Would getting both prisoners make it more or an even trade? Just don't know. That's coming from marketing. I don't know. I mean, that's a good point.
Well, I'm sure. Well, I'm sure we negotiate.
But I'll tell you right now, someone who got arrested for walking through an airport with contraband and being arrested, and I know the laws are different and everywhere else. I know you wouldn't be 9 years in prison for having hash or whatever.
Well, this was it was trace CBD oil.
Yeah, and I don't know if we still don't know if it was prescribed, if it was medicinal. Well, if it is, and you travel with that kind of stuff, that's the kind of stuff you need to sit down and go, hey, listen, I'm traveling with this, okay? And then we're letting out an arms dealer. Again, I don't know. I'm assuming through the arms he's bought has killed hundreds, if not thousands, of people. Is that an equal trade? I don't know. I'm happy for her. It's just weird. And then, all of a sudden, it's going to turn into a politicized, hey, we got Brittney Griner back.
Well, we did.
This was going to be something that was going to be on Joe Biden's priority list because he needed to get it out. Because it's a good story. It's a person we know. It's a person we love. It's important to women voters. It's a slam dunk for Joe. This was a blessing for Joe to not only have her arrested, but to get her out. This was a plus for his political career.
Not getting Paul Whelan out
sucks.
No, but if you go on the political route, the fact that
we don't know who Paul is.
No, but what I'm saying is the fact that they've been negotiating for him to get out.
They better get him out.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
They better get him out before the next election.
Yeah, no, right? Because exactly what you just said, and exactly what Mark, I think it's Mark, was saying is. The fact that we didn't, the ideal situation was we would have got both out. Yeah. Because we would have had our basketball superstar, we've had our individuals been there for 4 years, the families would be happy. The fact that his brother said that, I appreciate the continued negotiations, you got to take what you can get. That breaks your heart. Yeah. And the guilt, if we're going to get psychological on this, the fact that she got out, the fact that she's reunited with her wife and her family and it's Christmas time and it's wonderful. That what weighs heavy on her mind because his name is so much in the press is the guy left behind. Yeah.
What do you want to hear Brittney Griner say when she gets on the mic for the first time?
Well, I don't, she has said all along, it's been really interesting. You kind of wonder, I've always wondered in this, how much has she said what she said because she's been advised to say that or political, she's always said the same thing. I never intended to break the law. What did she say?
She doesn't need to say that.
But she said, I acknowledge, she wasn't debating, I acknowledged that I broke a law that I didn't intend to break. And she said, I was willing to,
we never intended to do it.
Well, no, well, yeah, we do. Well, yeah,
Guys say that all the time.
No. Okay.
It wasn't my intention.
No, but what I'm saying is she also said, and I accept whatever my punishment is.
Yeah.
Okay. So she has said that all along. I mean, what do I want her to say? I don't want her to say that much. What I want her to say is I'm grateful and grateful for being home. Mm-hmm. I'm grateful for the people who got me home. And please don't forget Paul and all the other prisoners who are there. Thank you. I'm going to spend some time with my family. I appreciate your privacy.
What would you say to people that say, this is just the American life? She's famous. We have to get the people that everyone knows out first. I mean, if she'd killed somebody,
well, you
would
see,
it be different?
I would say, let's push pause on that, because we, the average person, I'm putting myself in there. I don't know why Paul is more valuable for them to keep. I mean, if we're going to talk about pawns, clearly there is a reason why they let her go and not him. Yeah. And so what I'm saying is, the fact that she's a...
And I'll be honest with you, I thought and again, I don't know enough about Paul, but just from a human perception or from an American perception, I think Brittney's much more important than he is, because that story goes on and on and on. And again, until you just told me about Paul, I had heard about him, but I didn't know enough about his backstory. I didn't know how long he was in.
But it's 4 years.
The Brittney Griner thing is something that had to get done.
Well, yeah, because, and they've said, I heard, I think it was the coach of Mercury, it may have been the Stanford coach, the women's basketball coach, I cannot remember who said basically, if this would have been LeBron James, we would have had him out like that. And you and I have both said, if this would have been LeBron James, he's worth more.
A lot more.
To the Russians.
Yeah.
Like, this is some crazy shit.
Yep.
If you think about this, we don't typically think about prisoners being caught who are celebrities and athletes. Like, that's not the narrative. It's individuals who are either in forensics or spies or whatever. But we have this athlete, and we're negotiating, and I don't like it.
No, and a lot of people say, what the hell was she doing there in the first place? She was getting paid like 15 times what she's getting paid here in the United States.
Well, then that's a whole sports argument.
And that's normal for Americans to go abroad and make money and do those things.
Well, yeah, you get into a whole lot of issues there with WNBA.
But with that being said, I've got a good friend of mine who's traveled all over the world. He goes into war-torn countries where Americans are not looked upon very favorably, and he does it. He's there for 6 or 7 months. They have their little compound. Stay off this street, don't go out at night, and do your job and get the hell out because you're American.
But she's not that way. She's beloved.
I know, right?
By the Russian people as a superstar.
Yeah. So that's breaking news this morning. Brittney Griner is freed. She was used as a pawn, and they released another prisoner who is an arms dealer. This day has got so many incredible anniversaries and birthdays. You want to hear something?
Yeah, by the way, June, yesterday was Pearl Harbor Day and nobody talked about it.
I know, right? What's up with that?
I mean, it was 81 years, the anniversary.
Just because it's 81 years. It was 75. At that point, when it's that long ago. Yeah.
Okay.
But speaking of that, 42 years ago today, this guy was shot and killed.
Lennon?
John Lennon. 1980. I was 14 years old. I was just getting into the Beatles. It wasn't one of those where was I moments because I was only 14.
Yeah.
But I was already doing classic rock radio, and I was kind of like, holy crap.
When did you start doing classic rock when you were 6?
12.
Okay.
Mark David Chapman, of course, the one who shot him, went outside his door, had an album, had him sign it, and shot him. He was asked why he did it. He said, I just had to because it was going to make me famous. That was his reason to the day. He's like, I just knew that I would go down in infamy as the person who shot John Lennon, which is really kind of sick. But
that's really sick.
It's
honest.
But he's true.
Yeah.
I can remember his name.
Yeah, that's
John Hinckley. You remember all those people,
yeah.
And that's why a lot of people do that. But 1980 on this date, John Lennon was killed. Jim Morrison would have been 79 today. Can you imagine Jim Morrison being 79? Dude, how crazy would it be to see Jim Morrison, the Doors, on stage at the age of 79? He'd still be getting after it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's Mick Jagger.
No, that's why I was thinking. I mean, it's like it's so interesting. We don't know what his trajectory would be for sure, right? Would he be Keith Richards?
Did you ever see the Val Kilmer Doors movie?
No.
I never saw it. I didn't see it.
I do know, you know the story. I've said this a million times. You know, he attended 1 year of college at UCLA.
Yeah.
And he stayed in the freshman dorms.
And you were his friend?
No, dude.
Oh.
But his...
You smoked up with him?
No.
You did acid with him?
No, I'm young. But his dorm, it's lore to be able to be in his dorm.
Yeah.
In his dorm on campus.
I'll bet it is. I'd lick the walls. Sammy Davis Jr. lived in 97 today. I love me some Sammy Davis Jr. My dad was big into the Rat Pack. That generation was into the Rat Pack. He was the black dude. I remember seeing him in All in the Family when he kissed Archie Bunker. Candyman is like one of my favorite tunes of all time. I love that song. It was only #1 song. I love that song. I heard it the other day and I was like, that song is so good. I love that song.
I do remember as a child, my parents or my grandparents letting me know, because my grandfather was into the Rat Pack, letting me know that he was Jewish.
Yeah.
And I was young. I was super young.
Was he Messianic?
No, he just converted.
Yeah.
But I remember as a very young kid going, like, it wasn't computing.
If you convert, aren't you Messianic though? If you
no. Messianic Jews that's a very...
Okay.
That's not a denomination of
This is a very uncomfortable show. We can talk about it.
But it's not a denomination of Judaism.
Okay, gotcha. Greg Allman would have been 75 today.
Wow.
Yeah, I've told you.
What did you tell me? Well, I know you did. How many times was he in rehab? Like 17 times for heroin?
27 times, I think.
27.
27 times. Well, he wasn't in rehab for each one, but I think it was 27 times he tried to stop doing his heroin until it finally took.
That's great.
27 silver chips he got, yeah. Greg Allman and the Allman Brothers was playing Oak Mountain Amphitheater. Did I tell you the story?
Probably.
One call.
Oh, yes. This is a great Tony Curry story. Everybody come in, join.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Woman calls me on the air and says, I want to go to the concert this Thursday night, blah, blah, blah. And I said, great. She had won some tickets and she said, is there any chance you get me backstage? And I said, yeah, it's not going to happen. I went backstage for every show, even when I didn't have backstage passes. They knew I was. They'd let me in, and I wouldn't. As long as I didn't cause a problem, I'd get an autograph.
You can talk your way through anything.
Even if I wasn't bringing bands on stage, sometimes bands didn't want to be brought on stage. I always tried. So I was like, yeah. And then she called me back the next day, and the next day, the next day. It was like 3 days before the concert, and she said, I have something I want to show him, and it kind of freaked me out a little bit. And she wasn't a normal caller to the show. A lot of people listened, but they didn't call.
That was me.
And so I go to the concert, and I'm backstage, and I feel someone kind of looking at me. I look, and she goes, my name is, and I'm not going to mention her name. She said, I'm the woman who's been calling you and asking you if I can get backstage. And I said, listen, I'll see what I can do. I act like I went to the guy backstage, and I act like I was asking him, and I said, just nod your head. And he said, no. And I said, you're not going to get backstage. So anyway, about 45 minutes later, I'm backstage, and I was bringing the band on stage, and I was meeting with Greg and just having pleasantries, and there she is. She's behind me. Somehow she got backstage, and she had a 10-year-old daughter who, God bless America, looked just like Greg Allman without the beard. This girl had long blonde hair.
Oh my God.
She was dressed like Greg Allman.
She
had the face of Greg Allman. It looked like a mini-me female Greg Allman. I was like, oh.
That's what I mean. Did you feel it here? That was one of those moments.
Yeah,
hair on the back of your neck. Yeah, okay.
It was. I'll never forget how I felt when I saw. And I was like, and she kind of walked up, and I said, "Oh, so this is Greg." It was one of those weird things where he was like walking between the bathroom and the commissary or whatever, and he was right there, and he was like, well, it's nice to meet you, and he was really nice. And she said, do you have 3 minutes? And he goes, sure. And she said, I saw you at a concert, I think it was in Mississippi, about 10 years ago, and I came backstage, and it was one of the most beautiful nights of my life. We spent an evening together. And he just kind of looked, and he wasn't uncomfortable, but he was kind of like, oh, the fact that we'd spend an evening together, it wasn't like I met you. We spent the evening together, and I'd like to introduce you to my daughter. And
this is a song.
She was kind of standing behind her mom. She came out, and you should have seen his face. And he wasn't like worried, anxious, shocked. He just was kind of like, hey. How are you? And he got down on near the ground. shook her hand.
Oh my God, this is giving me, I'm getting like, I don't get
And I mean, he knew, and she knew.
Oh my God.
And the fact that she said it was 10 years ago.
What were you doing?
Oh, I just sat back, and I got goosebumps right now telling the story.
I am, and I wasn't even there.
And he's like, well, you know, I hope you enjoy the show tonight. And Mr. Greg's got to get back to the band. We got to get up and do our sound, you know, da-da-da-da-da. And she didn't want anything. She's like, thank you, Greg. It was great to see you again, blah, blah, blah. For all I know, they got together later on that night after the show, but I was like, whoa.
Okay, so what was the song? What's the song by Heart? All I Want to Do.
Make Love to You, yeah.
Okay, that one. And then Tim McGraw sang Red Rag Top. Same theme. I was going through my head all the themes of the Got Together for a Night.
Chevy Man.
No, that's not the same. That we can't talk about that.
Flip Wilson would have been 89 today.
I told you my grandparents know him. Well, knew him. My grandparents knew him because he belonged to, this is an interesting, he belonged to the same country club as my grandparents.
Yeah.
In the San Fernando Valley. And he was one of the only.
Geraldine.
Yes, God.
He was so funny. My mom, it was so funny because, you know, back in the 60s and 70s when we were still going through, well, we're still going through racial strife, but much more so 50 years ago. A lot of white people loved watching black families on TV. My dad loved Good Times. Maybe it's because it made him feel better about him. I don't know. But he loved the Flip Wilson show. He loved Sammy Davis Jr.
Well, they were great. Well,
I think it was their way of recognizing the fact that they may have been a little racist, but they still appreciated great.
Yeah, it gave them.
They wouldn't have had dinner with the black family down the street.
But they can watch Good Times.
My dad,
but they can watch Good Times.
They can watch Good Times and appreciate great content and great show. Sam Kinison would have been 69 today. I mean, isn't it crazy how many? Of course, I told you my Sam Kinison story. Brought him on stage in Louisville, Kentucky. He
ruined your relationship.
Just absolutely was exploding. He was playing in front of 500 people, and he exploded and was playing in front of 50,000. And I spent an evening with him, and I broke up with my girlfriend because of it. He came over to her house and went off, and it was fantastic. Kim Basinger, 69, don't have a story about her.
Wait, is she dead?
No, she's still alive.
Oh, it is. Okay.
And also, Dwight Howard turns 37 today. Dwight, he's still with the Lakers?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's my dogs barking at cats. Knock it off in there. We're doing a show here on the Kurre and Klapow show. Lakers, Orlando, Houston, Atlanta, Charlotte, and the Wizards.
Dude is just chiseled. Of all the things.
No, he still looks good. He's got the hair, and he's 37.
But he never turned out to be. He's one of those ones who just we all thought he would be. You know, well, Anthony Davis or that kind of. He didn't. Great, but not as great as we thought he would be. That's how I see it.
At one point, I think he was at the precipice of.
Well, yeah, he was.
When he was Superman.
Yes, well, for the dogs, yes, that's true.
He was he was the man, and then all of a sudden now he's just kind of he's been like 700, 900 different teams. Well, I realize that, but he keeps getting called from these teams to play. What kind of team? Let me ask you this: what kind of teammate is Dwight Howard? I don't like Dwight Howard for some reason. I don't know if it's that swarmy smile he's got. I love it. He has got the broadest shoulders in the history of mankind.
Yes.
He's still chiseled. He looks great at 37 years old. He's been relatively clean, I think. I don't think he's really done anything wrong.
He pulls off purple hair really nice. I don't know. I do get the sense that, like a lot of veteran players, and getting older, there's a mellowing. I think now he realizes I only got, I'm living on borrowed time from a pro athlete, and so I want to do what I can. Obviously, think about it. He had to go from that transition.
Yep.
He had to go from that transition of being the guy to the role player. I think that's incredibly difficult.
When they bring Dwight Howard onto your basketball team, are you happy?
Depends what. Well, yeah. I mean, depend. But I want to know. I want to know what he's being brought on for.
Yeah.
That's what's important. Right now, the Lakers, although they were on a run until Anthony Davis got the flu.
Dude, those between him and LeBron, I know LeBron's like 83 years old. I get why he's banged up. But
Davis, God, when he plays 55 points.
I know it.
What's wrong with? I'm so depressed. God. It's so, and like Russell, I love Russell Westbrook.
What's he doing this year? Is he back? Is he
Who?
doing Russell?
Yes. I mean, back playing?
Is he back? Like,
you know what I love about Russell Westbrook? There's two things I love about Russell Westbrook from a purely athletic standpoint. And he had to play like this the other day. He plays his ass off. Like they showed him hitting the ground for a ball, and what is he, 33, 34? Like, this is not a 27-year-old. So that's one. The other, and he's still got it, is he's only what, like 6'3", 6'4", 6'4", maybe?
Yeah.
When he goes to the rim,
no, he's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. You don't see anything like that.
Yeah. When he's shooting bricks, it's like...
Oh, the bricks look really bad.
Last year was terrible.
They look so bad. Okay.
It was horrible.
Thank you for my Laker moment. I appreciate that.
Sure. Isn't that crazy, though? Flip Wilson, Sam Kennison, Greg Allman, Sammy Davis Jr., Dwight Howard, Kim Messenger, Jim Morrison, and John Lennon killed in the state in 19...
No, they weren't all killed. John Lennon was killed.
John Lennon was killed. I always wonder what John Lennon would be doing these days, too.
Well, look at Paul and Ringo. I mean, you'd be doing...
Yeah, but I mean, they don't see each other. I wonder if John and Paul would have written another song.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it's possible. We're going to be on Fox 6 later on this morning. We're waiting to hear what we're going to be talking
That's
about.
what I was going to look.
We wanted to get into Black Santas. I talked about it yesterday. There was a guy, I guess, who was working as a photographer at a Bass Pro Shops or some mall or somewhere in North Carolina.
But we just got late breaking news.
What's that?
They wanted to do the previous story about Jewish different holidays, blah blah blah, but they want to know what our angle is on the Brittney Griner thing. WPRC wants to know what our angle is. They were thinking of going to kids, explaining kids why holiday traditions differ. That's the Black Santa,
good, yeah.
Kwanzaa. They want to bring.
What?
They want to bring in Matt. Matt is the weather, the weather meteorologist. It's great. They want to bring in Matt, whose mom is Jewish. They want to talk about families who have different kinds of traditions. So they're going to bring in Matt.
Okay, good.
I'm Jewish too, Matt. You and me.
You should bring Toy in.
Well, they are. They're Kwanzaa, Festivus. What's Festivus? I forgot.
No, bring everybody in. No, that's cool. I mean, you're a Jewish man. I think you could speak on that. But if they want to bring the
my wife's Episcopalian.
Yeah. I'm Catholic. Let's bring it all in.
You need to watch us. You need to watch us around 9:30.
We need a Latino at 9:35. You want to come?
Well, that's Catholic, right?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Am I broad brushing?
Yes, you are. Bring a Latino in.
Did you know that there are black Jews, but not converted? Yeah. They're called Sephardic Jews in Ethiopia.
Okay.
Did you know that?
I did not. I learned something
new.
They're not Sammy Davis Jr. No, but I just mentioned the fact that Santa Claus is I mentioned my 10-year-old daughter is learning about Santa Claus. I'm not going to say anything here on Facebook Live, obviously. But she's learning about Santa Claus, and then of course she learned about the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy and the whole 9 yards. And she took it incredibly well. And she believes in Santa Claus, as she should, from a spiritual standpoint. And she knows how I feel about Santa Claus. And so this guy was asked this question, have you ever considered, because evidently there's a contingency of African Americans in this particular area in North Carolina, have you ever considered bringing a Black Santa Claus? He's like, let me ask my boss. He's like, hey, we ever thought of having a Black Santa Claus? Now, I don't know if you put them side by side. Most kids realize that if there's a Santa Claus over here, and there's a Santa Claus over here, and a Santa Claus over there all on the same night, it ain't the real Santa Claus, but Santa Claus has Santa Claus helpers, people that look like him, ambassadors who go out and work for him because there's only one Santa Claus and he can't be everywhere at once.
That's good.
Thank you very much.
Now be careful.
Even my 6-year-old, I just mentioned, I believe in Santa Claus, period. I know
I do too, and I'm
he
Jewish.
exists, and I know it's a biblical thing, and it's a spiritual thing. So evidently he told his boss, and the boss said, that's a great idea, but they never did anything about it. So he started this foundation for Black Santa Clauses, and he said the biggest problem is trying to find Black Santa Clauses. Because you got to look the part. Not only do you have to look the part, you have to have a beard.
Yeah.
It needs to be white because Santa Claus is old.
Well, yeah, it has to be gray.
You can't look like LeBron James and pull off Santa Claus because so you have to look like Santa Claus.
No James Harden?
No James Harden, no. Although he'd be a great damn Santa Claus. He'd be an awesome
All I
Santa
have to do
Claus.
is make it white. They can just dye it. Not white, gray. I want to be careful when saying
But
gray.
this just goes to show, so if we're saying, wait a minute, if Santa Claus doesn't need to be white, and he could be a Latino Santa Claus, or a black Santa Claus, or a Jewish Santa Claus, or any other kind of Santa Claus, then why should he have to have a beard? Well, if we're talking about cultural differences, because what I was talking about yesterday was the stereotypes.
Yeah.
I mentioned adaptive perish. We have to change our way of thinking sometimes, and we're so like, this is what it looks like. Well, I don't want a black James Bond. My James Bond is white, and that's fine.
Can I go here? I'm going to go here on you.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus. Mm-hmm. The depictions of Jesus.
I've seen portraits of black Jesuses.
Well, depending on what you, how you track the science, it's quite possible that he was Sephardic. He had dark skin.
Yeah.
But we did. I mean,
they didn't have sunscreen back then either.
No, but that's what I'm saying. We can talk about the Santa Claus, but with Jesus, there's all kinds.
As long as you believe in what Santa Claus stands for, I don't care what.
That's why they had Festivus. That's why Festivus is a secular holiday celebrated on December 23rd as an alternative to the pressures of commercialism in the Christmas season. Originally created by author Daniel O'Keefe, Festivus entered popular culture after it made the focus of a 1997 Seinfeld episode, The Strike, in which O'Keefe's son, Dan O'Keefe, co-wrote it. The idea is to let everyone, it's an all-inclusive holiday.
Yeah.
Or it's an inclusive, it's not all-inclusive. It includes all, and it has to do with to celebrate it as an alternative, and it has to do with a big pole, and we celebrate the big pole. We're so funny humans.
I know, right?
We do all kinds of stupid shit. Like, we do so much stuff to make ourselves, I shouldn't say that, I'm going to lose all my clients stupid shit. I do stupid shit too.
Yeah.
We do so much stuff to make ourselves feel okay in the world.
Yeah.
And the great thing is our brains have evolved such that we can create our own realities and our own, and it's not realities where like we're psychotic or we're hallucinating. You know what I mean? Like we literally construct your way of seeing the world. The world you see is not the world that I see, and we do that so that we can feel okay in the world.
And for the most part, when those changes happen, we cause a ruckus.
Yep.
And then we don't talk about it anymore.
Right, you know why?
And I'll use the Confederate statues, for example.
Yep.
No one talks about the Confederate statues anymore. Everyone was like, oh, we can't take those down. That's our heritage. It's our culture. It's what we stand for. The flags, blah, 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 blah. Well, does anyone talk about it anymore? No, we've moved on. There are still people that miss them. Maybe they had great uncles that fought, but
you know we do.
Eventually, we adapt to the change
because
we can still have it here and here. We don't have to have a visual of it. The visual thing is symbolism is incredibly important.
Absolutely.
In life, period. Whether it be Santa Claus, whether it be a wedding ring, whether it be a statue, symbolism is incredibly important. And I'm never going to take away what symbolism means to an individual. It's just a symbol. It's just a flag. It's just a ring. It's just a person. It's just a Santa Claus. But it means so much to people because when we can put a visual aspect to something, sometimes it transforms.
Well, listen. I'm gonna get way psychological on you for just like 10 seconds.
Really, you're a psychologist?
Yeah. Well, listen. It's object attachment. I mean, if you think about it, the ruckus that we put up as adults when our world is changed, right? You just said it, and it's so true. Something changes in our world that we don't like. And so we throw some sort of temper tantrum. Now, it can be an internal temper tantrum that nobody sees. It can be a sort of civilized temper tantrum, but we throw a flipping temper tantrum. We don't like what's just happened.
Yeah.
We don't like what's just happened. And then what we typically do is we kind of dig our feet in, at least mentally. I mean, again, some people are very out with this, but mentally, I don't like this, and I don't want this to happen. And then we either sort of resolve to, okay, maybe this is okay, or we keep the temper tantrum up until which time either we get our way or we realize that forces greater than us are not going to let us have that way, and we either stay angry and pissed off or we come around. Also, okay, 3-year-olds do the same thing. Teenagers do the same thing.
Yeah, when you realize it's not going to change, you deal with it.
Well, no, but you deal with it. We tend to deal with it the same way. And then the symbolism, the objects, the Santa Clauses. I won't go to religious there, but it's the same thing. The crosses, the stars, the Santa Clauses, these objects that represent things to us. We need that because we can't have. I'm being careful. We can't have the real thing. We can't have it. So it is a connection to us. This is why, as kids, we started off with binkies and blankets and our favorite dolls and all those kinds of things. And we just keep moving on to different sorts of symbols because that symbolism is a way for us to have meaning and security in the world. Yeah. And so my point is when you start taking these things away, at our deepest level, the deepest core, the lizard brain, it's actually not the lizard brain, it's one step up from the lizard brain. We lose our shit. Yeah. We lose our shit because you're throwing us back to a time of toddlerhood, of adolescence, because that's how we deal with change.
There you go. So we mentioned the other day, I'm getting these Twitter notifications from.
I told Jules about this, by the way.
I'm getting Twitter notifications from all these hoochie mamas. I don't know who they are, and they're showing up on my front screen, and I don't follow them. And I'm like, why am I getting these notifications? So I got one from Holly Saunders, who used to be on the PGA channel. I used to watch her every morning. She's very, very soft on the eyes, very attractive. And then she decided to go off and kind of do her own thing. She started dating a gambler. She went out with the boxer, famous boxer.
Mike Tyson?
No, Oscar De La Hoya.
Oh, yeah.
She may still be seeing him. I don't know. And she's seeing the red carpet, and she puts it out there, man. I mean, she puts it out there. She's put out calendars and all these different things. And again, she's soft on the eyes, and so she's obviously got a huge following. So now she's just a follower. She's an influencer, and she puts questions out, real or fake. These one-line questions, and that gets retweeted 1,700 times. Meanwhile, the rest of us are putting out stuff that's really contentful and very, very interesting, and it doesn't get anything, but because she's got.
You mean like Live Wire Wednesday?
Live Wire, exactly, exactly. Live Wire Wednesday.
Maybe if you did it with your boobs showing, and your steak.
It's amazing. It's just amazing because I know that 99.9999% of the followers are men who are creeps and just want to see skin. Yeah. And so they're gonna go, oh, I like fake. Well, I sure like the fake. You see fake. And I was like, dude, no, she knows what she's doing, right? So I went onto one of her recent posts and just started reading some of the follow-ups to her stuff, and she said something about the point of. She asked the question, which I thought was pretty thoughtful. What do you do for a living? I'm trying to figure out what I should post on this, so I'm speaking to my followers. Okay. And so I wrote to her. Oh. I used to do a morning show with Al Greco and Jay Barker. We actually had you on our show a couple of times. And
did you tag Al and Jay?
Yeah, I did.
Smart.
I said, quite frankly, you were really rude. And she was. She was very short and rude.
Ooh.
And I went, she was responding to everybody, and several people were like, man, you've really lost it. I really enjoyed the fact that you were a PGA Tour, and you were great at golf, and this, that, and the other, and now you've just slutted it up. You're just putting it out there, and she would write back, I'm making millions of dollars every month. I'm happy, proud, and what do I get out of being a PGA, tour advisor, whatever, blah, or a teacher? So great. Good for you. The fact that she had replied to that tells me there's something wrong with her. She's thinking, why am I being attacked for showing my... There's one post where she's in her panties putting ornaments on a Christmas tree. She's naked, and it's like...
It was hot in the room.
And of course it got 50,000 views because it was hot. Yeah, she's on a step ladder. I'm like...
Maybe
right now people are turning us off to go look at it.
Maybe you should do that. You could do that.
So, Paige Sporanic, who is also a former PGA Tour gal, has her own podcast. She is also very soft on the eyes, but she doesn't She doesn't go as far as Holly does as far as showing skin. She wears revealing clothes, and she's bending over to pick the golf ball up, that whole 9 yards. But she also speaks a lot of sports. Mm-hmm. She has spoken about Tom Brady and his marriage, and she talks about LeBron James, and so she's and for the most part, I think a lot of people dig her. She seems like that girl next door, but she's quite the looker. So she came out yesterday. She's got roughly 4 million followers. Tiger Woods has 600,000 on Instagram. She dwarfs that.
Wow. She
came out and said that she's really suffering with her self-image right now, and that she suffers from imposter syndrome. She said, "I'm happy. I've never been happier from a personal and professional standpoint. I'm doing well, but I suffer from imposter syndrome."
What does she do?
She didn't say it. Well, she just posts stuff on podcasts, and she does shows, and she posts videos, and she talks about
How long was she on the tour? I mean, or how?
It was years ago.
Okay.
But I think she's probably in her mid-30s.
Was she good? I don't.
No, I don't think she won tournaments and stuff when she was on the tour. But when she said imposter syndrome, I was kind of like,
yeah, it's an interesting use of that.
Yeah,
it makes a lot of
sense.
sense.
I guess from a guy standpoint, looking at a woman who obviously she knows she must be beautiful because she gets a ton of followers and she's willing to reveal a lot of things. And she said she's happy. She said she's successful, and so I'm like, what's this imposter syndrome thing? Now I know imposter syndrome. It's everywhere, and I know bosses have imposter syndrome. A lot of people have it.
Oh, you must have had it when you became celebrity?
Well, why don't you tell me what it means?
So imposter syndrome is a feeling that I am here doing this thing, whatever it is, and it can be anything: job, parent, relationship. I shouldn't be here. Meaning I don't really have the qualifications. Someone's going to find out that I don't know what I'm doing. And again, I'm not talking about you cheated your way in there. I'm in this role. You must have had that.
I did when I went to ESPN.
Yes, I
got to ESPN, I was like, what in the hell do you see in me?
That's exactly. Now they thought, right?
And then they offered me the job, and I'm like,
yes, that's imposter syndrome. Listen, I had it. Physicians have it all the time. I had it when they started calling me doctor.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to go see a patient. Oh, Dr. Klapow, do you need a... It wasn't just the name. It was, okay, I don't know how they're going to find out. They're going to find out that, and again, this is not that they're going to find out like I cheated. It's the feeling that they're going to find out, they, being anybody, is going to realize that I don't belong in this place. I don't belong where I am. I shouldn't be the CEO.
Even though you want to be in that place.
Yes, well, and that's why, yes, and that's the hard thing about imposter syndrome, and this is why she's saying, I'm happy because I'm in this great place.
It's hard to feel sorry for a woman that looks like that and is getting that many followers.
That's exactly what, but saying that you have imposter syndrome is not, it's not looking for, it's not looking for validation or condolences. What it's saying is, and I think it's interesting that she said it, she's telling you that I'm here, I'm stoked where I am, I'm happy that I'm here, and yet I can't, essentially I can't believe that I'm here. It's when people say I can't believe that I'm here, that is equated with a feeling of imposter syndrome.
So is imposter syndrome then the opposite of taking what you've gotten and saying, I'm just super blessed? Wow, maybe that's when you should just be really, really grateful for what you have?
Well, no, you can be both grateful and feel blessed and still feel like I don't quite, it's not that I don't deserve this. Again, there's a difference here. Imposter syndrome is, maybe a little I don't deserve this. It's, I'm not qualified. I don't feel, this is the key word. I don't feel as if I should be here. You talk to musicians, famous anybody, pretty much, or anybody gets accolades, or anybody who is in a position of power, or, and this is what I was saying, for a lot of us, and I had this, when you're a parent for the first time.
Yep.
Oh my God, The problem with parent is when you say it's imposter syndrome because you don't really know what you're doing, and you feel like you don't know what you're doing. The reality is you really don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But it is that same feeling. I can't believe I shouldn't be here. I'm too young to be a parent, or I'm too unqualified to be a parent. That's imposter syndrome. You can still be grateful. You can be grateful. And we always tell people, listen, I work with a lot of people who are in incredibly influential, powerful roles. And I'm saying this because they've gotten themselves there. Now the livelihoods of lots of people depend on them, and they will tell me, oh my God, I don't really feel like I know what I'm doing. Like I don't really, and again, I say feel. Not that I don't know what I'm doing. I don't feel like I know what I'm doing. I don't know if I should be in this role. And part of my job is to help them separate the feeling of imposter syndrome versus what do you know?
Yeah.
What do you really know? Do you really know how to sing? Do you really know how to play this sport? Athletes have it all the time.
Yeah.
Athletes have it all the time.
It is amazing how many people who are in incredibly influential positions are.
It is an insecurity. It is an insecurity.
There's a difference between being insecure and having imposter syndrome. But insecurity is part of being an imposter syndrome.
I love this. I talk to you like a colleague now.
I know, right?
Come on, that was great, Dr.
No, because it's like
it's a different.
I look at a page when I read the article, I was kind of like, come on,
no,
because I thought she was playing it. I thought she was playing it up.
Maybe.
She doesn't need to play it up, but it made me like her even more.
Yes,
the fact that she was recognizing that I'm really not. I should not be as followed as I am, and that tells me that she's grateful, and it shows a humbleness.
It's not that I can't. I want to just change your word a little bit. I can't believe that I'm being followed. It's not that I don't deserve to be.
Because
right?
We all knew the girl in school who was just the beauty queen, the homecoming queen, was beautiful, and all she did, she couldn't take a compliment. And all she did was talk about how ugly she looked.
That's different.
And there are some that do that just to get sympathy. But there are some people that actually truly believe that. And you're like, well, for example, anorexia. I'm too fat. Now this is a little different. I realize that.
Okay,
But when you're as thin as a rail and you're in great shape, but you keep looking at yourself and you're like, I'm not thin enough, or I'm not beautiful enough, or people that continue to get Botox or some type of augmentation to their body because it's just never. But those people, it's never going to be perfect enough.
Yes. There's a little bit with anorexia of what we call body dysmorphic disorder. Yeah, you're going, but it is your perception that who you are, what you're doing. That's why anorexia is harder, because you just said insecurity and imposter syndrome. Just because you have imposter syndrome for your job or maybe your relationship doesn't mean that you are an insecure person, like globally, right? In everything that you do. There's a lot of people who are very secure in their lives, but they find themselves in these positions where they have imposter syndrome. They're insecure about that position.
Is imposter syndrome the opposite of narcissism?
Oh,
because
look at you! Look at him, Tony Curry, Dr. Curry.
Because then you've got you have people that know they don't know their shit, but they act like they know everything. FTX, for example.
No. Yeah. So narcissism is not acting like, because here's the difference.
They actually believe it.
They believe it.
Yeah.
Now, if we're going to dive deep, just for 1 second, they believe it, but it's driven from a place of complete insecurity, total fear, and it's a defense mechanism. You're so insecure. You are so fearful of not doing well or powerful or being good in the world that you kind of flip a switch, and now you believe that you're special and different. And this is why, the word narcissism, you have to be careful, because not everybody is a narcissist.
Yeah.
Anyone who's powerful, anyone who has had influence, anybody who has done well has just a tad of narcissism.
Yeah.
Because believe you can. But narcissists by definition are scared human beings, but at such a deep level that they're not faking it.
Yeah.
Right? They're not BSing their way through. But yes, complete imposter syndrome, so much so that they have to take on a new personality.
We're all weak and insecure. Kurre and Klapow show. We're doing it for Thursday morning. I bet your veins popping out. You're doing good today, Bill. You got some good stuff for IG. Along with your deer corpse. It's going to be awesome.
Do you see my deer corpse?
Did you put another one up?
No, not the deer corpse.
Yeah, what is it called? Deer Chronicles? Deer Chronicles.
Okay. Mental Drive is IG.
Yeah.
Josh's Deer Chronicles is Facebook.
Oh, okay.
The reason I asked you about the deer corpse is I have a Christmas decoration, which will go into our WBRC thing, I have a light, kind of semi-life-size deer.
Man, I wish I had a black Santa to put up.
Deer that, listen, it's all made out of wicker.
Yeah.
With lights.
Yeah.
And given how much I've been interacting with the deer, it looks like a deer that's been skinned down to its skin and bones. Nice. It looks like a deer corpse.
That's great. It is deer corpse.
That is deer corpse.
I'm going to put a Santa Claus in here for our Fox 6 thing. Can I do that?
I'm not offended.
Okay, good. We'll be on Fox 6 along with Mickey Ferguson's having a birthday today, by the way. Happy birthday to Mickey Ferguson.
It looks like we're
along with all these other guys. Mickey's got a very famous birthday.
You need to let them know that Mickey...
John Lennon was killed.
Well, no.
Sammy Davis Jr.
Yeah, well...
Flip Wilson.
Oh, jeez.
Mickey's the white Flip Wilson of Fox 6.
I don't know that you can say that. William, that's not...
No.
You can say it.
Mike W. will join us. Janice Rogers will be on Fox 6.
What, they bring everybody? Collins to come down too?
What? No, Collins got a different office now.
No, I think he has the same office. He got Colin Gasson, general manager, former general, and I forget his last name. Jason.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Jason, and I'm blanking on his last name, has just been promoted to general manager. Colin has been promoted to senior vice
Jason's last name before you bring
Jason.
it up. Yeah, pull it up. Thanks again to all of our great sponsors. Al Cooper, watch every morning from Coosa Valley Auto Sale. Driscoll Gray does a great job. Our good friends at Budweiser. The Jimmy Hill Mission, the Montgomery Food Bank. We have a show called Students of the Game, which is fantastic. Of course, Birmingham.woodhousespas.com is a fantastic show. We're going to be recording that today with Stuart Rome. Win a Rome with Stuart Rome. Go to Woodhouse Day Spa. It's fantastic. Birmingham.woodhousespas.com. A good friend of mine just gave me a nice gift card the other day.
You better use it.
I'm going to use it next week.
Okay, you need it.
I do need it bad, man. My body's breaking down.
Don't do it. Okay, don't. We need that.
Flipping mess, man. And also Southern Precision Staffing, all of our great, Chris Dorris, the State Farm team. We've got so many great clients on this radio station, on TKR, and certainly on Facebook Live. Not to mention, of course, Fox 6 will be on at 9:30 this morning. We're going to grab a bottle of water. And, some
I'm just
coffee.
getting latest last minute
notes. Santa Claus, and we'll talk Festivus coming up here in just a few minutes. Hope you have a fantastic day. Join Kurre and Klapow every single Thursday morning right here on TKR.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.